Hello everybody, this is Howard the Teaser King, coming to you with week 12 of the NFL. I have about 5 strong plays. I have 1 lock going and 2 other really strong plays. I could have a second lock. I'm waiting on injury statuses on a couple of teams, so it all depends. As I said in my college video, I have 4 college locks going. Highly recommend buying the locks this week and the college. You can also buy the pro, basically for the same price. You get pro college and the locks included. So I would definitely recommend getting all of those. Anyway, my computer's doing things I don't know what it's doing. Anyway, I'd like to talk about this week. Fairly strong week. It's starting to get, as I was talking in college, you're starting to get these teams for the playoffs that have to win, have to blow out. Other teams having to win their conferences, the smaller conferences, your Colorado States, your Utah States, teams like that, Marshall. So you have those, and in the pros, you're starting to get there, and that's where it really takes off, the locks and the plays, because you have Dallas losing to Washington at home early in the year. You have Kansas City losing to Oakland yesterday, which is unbelievable. I had Kansas City pretty heavy. It happens. I mean, they had the trends. They're a great road favorite. I think they're 87% in the teaser. And they lose because of the rainstorm. Well, okay, fine. That happens. That's why these picks aren't guaranteed 100%. But they are very good picks. But enough with that. These teams that have to win now are motivated. They're not going to lose these games normally. But you got to be careful. Like New Orleans and Atlanta, they're only 4-win teams. So when they have to win, you can't jump all over them. You can jump over New England and Denver when they have to win. Last year, Seattle, when they had to win. And last year, the Christmas week was gold. I hit 11, 10, 19 teasers because I took all the teams that needed it for the 1 and 2 seed had to win. New England, Denver, Seattle, Frisco, and they all won. I mean, they all had to win, and they all won against weaker teams, and they just blew them out. And that's what you're looking for. You're looking for that, okay, I got the motivation and the better team. You can't really do it if New England's playing, give me a good team, Arizona, you really can't do that. But you can do New England against Oakland, or you can do New England against the Jets or something, Buffalo, some weaker team. Then you can pound it. But against good teams, you can't. So just because of that, and you got to watch the weak teams. The teams that are weak, you can't really trust them. So even though they need a game, you still can't trust them. So you got to play the strong teams. In the pros, it's been tough because of so many injuries. But I've been doing very well the last month or so. Well, pretty much the whole season in the pros. I've been getting burned a little on Dallas, Washington, and the KC Oakland game, but generally been dead on a lot of the pro games. So let's take a look at it. So the first thing I do is go to the standings and see who needs the game, who's out of it, things like that. So let's go to Atlanta laying 3 to Cleveland. Who needs the game? Both teams. But Atlanta's only won 4 games. They're not really that strong. They used to be a great home favorite when they went to the Super Bowl, or they almost went to the Super Bowl when they lost. They beat Seattle that year, and then they lost to the Niners. They were extremely strong as a home favorite, but that's why I keep the trends, because now they're not. They're a bet against home team. They're a bet against team all over the place. Cleveland, I don't know what to do with them. They go ahead and they beat Pittsburgh, and they beat Baltimore, and then they lose to Jacksonville, and then they lose to Houston with no offense. It's unbelievable. You can't trust Cleveland, and that's my point. You can trust Tom Brady. You can trust Peyton Manning. You cannot trust Cleveland. You can't trust Atlanta, which is what makes it hard. If they were a better team, I could lock Cleveland at 9, basically saying Cleveland's getting points, Atlanta's a weak favorite. I can't do that because I can't trust Cleveland, but I do like Cleveland plus the 9 here because I really can't trust Atlanta to be favored to beat anybody, especially maybe at Jacksonville at home, but I can't trust them to beat Cleveland at home. No chance. So I think you take the dog here, take Cleveland in the 9. It's not a great play, but I like it. Both teams need the game, and usually, like I said, they're both kind of even. Take the dog in this situation. Philly laying 11 to Tennessee. It's a very tough. I think the line's a little high. Basically, I don't know with Sanchez. I mean, he was great one week. He sucked the next week. I don't know what you're getting. They are tied with Dallas. They do need the game. Tennessee doesn't, but Tennessee looked pretty good against Pittsburgh. But it was Monday night. I think they shot their wad against Pittsburgh. I think Philly wins, but we got to watch Sanchez. How good is he in this offense? I'll tell you one thing. Marcus Mariota will be the #1 draft pick. He's probably the best quarterback out there, and there's a high premium. I'd rather have a quarterback than an offensive tackle. If he goes to Philadelphia, good luck. I mean, because he knows the offense, an Oregon offense. He'd light it. Philly was smart. They'd trade for him and make him their starter. Look out. But with Sanchez, let's watch and see. I think the line's a little too high. I think Philly does win. They do need the game, but I don't see this as blowout city here. I think the spread should be about 7 or 8, and you chop it to 1 or 2. But chopping it to 5, I think it's too high. Very small play on Philly, but that's it. Indy laying 14 at Jacksonville. I was going to lock this game. The spread I thought would be about 9 or 10. It's 14. I can't lock a 14 down to 8. I know Indy will win the game, but it's just such a high number. And this is what I kind of try to teach. If this spread went down to 12 and I could get it under a touchdown, I'd bet it a lot heavier. But laying 8, they could easily get up 21, and then Jacksonville gets a couple of late touchdowns. Bortles, I don't like Bortles, but he's playing a little bit better, and maybe he gets a backdoor cover and they lose by 7. That's the risk you take with such a high number. And Indy's got 3 starters out, so it's going to be tough. Andrew Luck, he'll light it up. I've locked Indy a few times already this year, and they're very good at home. They did get buried by New England last week, and they'll be mad. I think Indy wins the game pretty easy, but it's just such a high number. They could easily get up 20 and win by 7 and win by 8, and what are you going to do? So just be careful with it. But I mean, I wouldn't bet against Indy here, but I think the number is too high to really make a big bet on. Houston laying 2 to Cincinnati. You tell me what Cincinnati team. You want to try to sit in my chair and make picks. Man, Cincinnati loses at home to Cleveland and then goes to New Orleans and destroys New Orleans and shuts down Drew Brees. I don't know what I'm watching here. I've never seen a team be that inconsistent. I thought Cincinnati would go to the AFC Championship game initially. And, okay, A.J. Green's back, but all of a sudden their defense, with no linebackers, all of a sudden shuts down New Orleans. I'm sorry. Something's wrong with New Orleans, but I don't know. Houston's too weak to be a favorite. They don't have a quarterback. Andy Dalton, is he going to throw a 10% rating or a 100% rating? Who the hell knows? In this game, I would take Cincy and 8. Very, very small. They're just too inconsistent for me to really jump on. I got Burns, Cincinnati at Indy. Again, they're live dog. They get killed by Indy. Go figure that out. And then they go to New Orleans. Say, okay, they can't play in a dome. So what do? You take New Orleans against them, and all of a sudden they blow them out. So I don't know. This is one of the problems this year. These teams are so inconsistent. I like the consistency. That's why I look at a trend for this year, and I include last year, and I include 2012. I have different breaking points in my analysis to try to get more consistency. But Cincinnati was very hot against the number. Then they had 3 or 4 bad weeks because they lost A.J. Green. And then, I don't know. I mean, they can't beat Carolina at home. They beat New Orleans on the road. Doesn't make sense. This team is really crazy. J.J. Watt's good. Clowney plays. That'll be a thing. I just like the dog in this game. It's very small, but it takes Cincinnati, and Houston can't be favored over anybody. They're terrible. No good quarterback. Buffalo and the Jets. The game's in Detroit. I live in Detroit. The tickets are free. Why would I go see Buffalo and the Jets? Now, is anybody in Buffalo or the Jets going to fly to Detroit to watch this game on a Monday night, Thanksgiving week? Really? They couldn't go play this game in Toronto? You're coming to Detroit? I don't get it. Now that changes the dynamics, because Buffalo was a home favorite. There's now a road favorite. Totally different dichotomy. Buffalo's not a good home favorite. The Jets, they'll play them. There's really no trend in the Buffalo-Jet rivalry. I would take the dog now. I mean, in Buffalo, I might have taken Buffalo, but now in Detroit, now both teams are flying. The Jets, they're going to fly to Buffalo anyway, or whatever they do to get there, take a long bus. But basically, I would take the Jets in the 9 here. Buffalo's totally different as a home favorite versus a road favorite. Seattle laying 7 to Arizona. I love Arizona in this game. Arizona's the better team. Had Seattle not lost to Dallas at home and not played like crap in many other games, I would take them. After a loss to Kansas City, I did have Seattle as a dog last week. They're a very good dog. But here, Arizona beat them in Seattle last year, and Arizona's defense is outstanding. They'll basically be able to one-on-one the receivers. It's all Marshawn Lynch. Good luck running on Arizona's defense. Arizona's got the #1 defense. Detroit might have it statistically, but they played Buffalo, the Jets, Miami, the Giants when they didn't know what they were doing. So, I mean, the teams they're playing, it's like a college team playing a bunch of high school teams, like what Alabama does and these SEC teams this week where they're playing all these high school teams. Basically is what Detroit did versus what Arizona did. Arizona played San Diego and Seattle and Frisco. So they're the best defense. I like Arizona. I know Larry Fitzgerald is game time, so obviously his knee's bothering him. And it's going to hurt him, but I'm betting their defense. I think they'll keep it close. I think they can easily win the game even without Fitzgerald. They have other receivers. I mean, this is the NFL. And he hasn't been doing that big of a thing anyway. Last week was I want to say Brown, the new receiver. He's been playing well, and they've been running the ball well too. And Seattle just doesn't look like the same team. Unger went out last week. He's their center. Their nose tackle went out the week before. This isn't the Super Bowl team. They're struggling. They'll be lucky to win. They'll probably win at home, but it'll probably be very close, and Arizona could easily win. Again, Arizona's the better team with the better defense. Take Arizona in 13. I think that number's... I had the number at 3. You're giving me 7 because Fitzgerald might or might not play. Too many points. I'm betting the defense. I don't care if Fitzgerald plays or not. I'm betting Arizona's defense. San Diego laying 4.5, 5.5 to St. Louis. This is a very interesting game. San Diego's a good home favorite, not great. They're a much better dog. Yeah, they got blown out by Miami. Again, another lock that Miami never blows out anybody at home, and San Diego's the best dog in the league. I mean, this is the luck that's been going on this year. But here, San Diego's laying 5.5. They should win the game. St. Louis. Now, goes to the playoffs. San Diego must win the game. Kansas City just lost. San Diego has a chance to be right up there. If Denver loses with all their injuries, San Diego could be tied for first. The Rams are a good team. They're better at home with the crowd noise in the dome. I like their quarterback. I can't think of his name. From the Lions, from 49ers. He's played at a lot of places. He's a good quarterback. But I think San Diego is too much to play for. They're at home. I see them winning. It's good in a teaser. You take 4.5, 5.5. You get 1.5 or a half. Really, you're just betting San Diego to win. I don't see them losing the game because they need it. And the Rams, okay, they get up for Seattle and they get up for the 49ers, and yeah. They're a fairly good defensive team, but after their win last week over Denver, I see them flat this week at San Diego. They've won at home against Seattle, at home against Denver, and Denver lost 2 receivers and Hillman was out, so they lost 3 players in the game. So I don't see them going on the road after beating Denver and beating San Diego. I don't have enough confidence in St. Louis. I just think San Diego's too good of a team. Rivers practiced. He'll play. I think he hurt his hand, but he'll be out there. He's a pro football player. We get to Denver laying 7 against Miami. Interesting game. One receiver, guy from Pittsburgh, I can't think of his name. He's going to play. I want to say Sanders, but that doesn't sound right. Emmanuel, whatever. He'll be playing. Julius Thomas, it's game time, so that means he'll play. But he's going to be injured anyway, so you can't really count on him. But he can be a decoy. Hillman's out and Bell's out. Monty Ball. These Wisconsin running backs kill me. They're great in college. They get in the pros, they're terrible. They're like Alabama players. They get into the pros and they stink. So you can see it's all the system. So basically, Denver doesn't have a running attack, although they'll probably pull an Oakland and get some guy from the 8th string, and he'll run 90-yard touchdown passes or touchdown runs. Miami, they can't handle Denver on the road. As long as Manning plays, if I had a normal Denver healthy team, this would be a lock. Denver -1 after a loss would automatically be a lock. The injuries, and this is why it's more of an art than a science. I don't just look at the numbers saying Denver's 90%. I'm going to just take Denver at home laying 1. You've got to look at the injuries. Does Denver need the game? Absolutely. They're chasing New England now. They're 2 games behind New England because they're a game back, and New England obviously has a tiebreaker by beating them. So Denver desperately needs this game. Manning will play, so therefore you got Manning. And here's always the story: Brady can win with no receivers. Manning has to always have these big receivers. So the question is, let's see how Manning does without a couple of his stud receivers. He'll still have Wesley Walker, and he'll still have Tammy and Emmanuel Sanders, I think, guy from Pittsburgh. He'll be playing, so they'll still have enough talent that he'll get the ball to. Miami, I want revenge for the San Diego game. I'm telling you that right now. I would get it if they're healthy. But I think Denver win. I don't think Miami's not going to go into Denver and win. Miami wins because of the heat, and they're okay, but not mile high. There's no way Miami wins this game. So I like Denver laying the 1. Not too strong because of the injuries, but I like them. Dallas laying 3.5 to the New York Football Giants, as we like to say. 10 in the game. New York's 11-2 as the dog, and the Dogs 10-3 in the series. Games in New York. You're making Dallas a road favorite. Now, which New York team shows up, God only knows. I just find that I initially circled this as take the dog. I have Dallas laying 3 and the spread's 3.5, so that's right. I don't see Dallas going into New York and blowing them out, but it's hard to take the Giants at 9.5 with Manning. They're such a bad team. So I don't know. I look at this game. I would probably take New York if I have to play anybody. The trend is New York. And Dallas really is not a strong road favorite. The Giants aren't a great home dog either, but in the rivalry, it's take the Giants at home in this particular rivalry. So take the Giants to the 9.5, very light. Or if you're thinking of betting Dallas, don't. Just watch the game. And the last one is New Orleans laying 3.5 to Baltimore. And I'm looking at that, scratching my head going, okay, New Orleans never loses at home. It's just lost to Frisco and lost to Cincinnati. Now they get Baltimore. Now Baltimore doesn't have Ray Lewis. They don't have Ed Reed. Or I would have locked Baltimore here. Um, I don't know. I mean, New Orleans was such a great home favorite, but here's where the trend changes, and you're catching the trend in the change. A couple of weeks ago, I took New Orleans against Frisco because New Orleans was 13-1 as a home favorite, and the Niners weren't that. I mean, they're losing to the Rams, for Christ's sake. So what you have is, I don't know who New Orleans is now. I mean, you're basically looking at a 4-win team against a 6-win team, and the 4-win team you can't trust to win because they only won 4 games. So for that reason, I like Baltimore as the dog. There's a small trend. Baltimore is great home favorite. They're a good road dog. New Orleans is starting to turn into a bet against. I do not know what's wrong with them. How they could lose to Cincinnati that way. I mean, I can understand the 49er game, but how they could lose to Cincinnati at home is a joke. So I just don't see New Orleans doing anything. So I don't know. I would take Baltimore in the 9.5. The spread drops a little bit. What I would do is play, like I played a couple of 14 teasers, and my strategy in this is I'll play 3 games Saturday or Sunday earlier, the 1 or the 4 o'clock game. Well, I could play any game Sunday because it's a Monday night, and I'll play it with Baltimore in 9.5. And then what I'll do is if I win the 14 teaser, the 5 to 16 teaser, I'll come back and bet New Orleans in a trap. Let's say I bet $100 to win 500 in a 5, 6, 17 teaser. So I got 600, 700, but I've only risked 100. I'd come back and play 300 on New Orleans and look for the trap. And that's what I do a lot on with the Monday night game, is try to trap it, because it's isolated, right? It's not pennant. It's the finisher. So I can bet all these other games and 2, 3, 4, 5, 16 teasers, whatever I have. But if the Baltimore game is the finisher and I've won them all, and now I got a big payday coming, I don't want to risk it all on Baltimore and then New Orleans blows them out. So you tend to trap that game. It's a very good strategy. You can't lose. You can only win with it, provided you hit the other 3, 4, 5, whatever teams you're playing. Even a 2-team teaser, you can sit there and play Denver -1 with Baltimore plus 9.5 for $1,000. Denver wins. Now you got Baltimore 9.5 for $1,000. If they lose, you lose $1,000. So you come in and you bet $500, $600, $700 on New Orleans laying. Hopefully you get it at 3. So you got 9.5 to 3. You can't lose. You can lose the bigger of the bet, but you can't lose. Like, you can't lose 1,000. But if you trap the game, you can win both. So let's say you put 500. So you either win 500, lose 500, or win 1,500. And that's really the strategy. It's a hedge. It's everything else. It's like buying gold versus the currency. The currency, they print too much, goes down. You got gold. Okay, I'll make the money on gold. That's the same thing here. You've got the Denver part in. Now you play Baltimore, but you got a lot of risk out there. And if New Orleans, then you play New Orleans, and you get 6.5 point spread on it. You can't lose both because one of the teams has to win, and then you could win them both, and that's the beauty of it. So, but you can't do it too often, and you got to get the right spread. Like if I look at the board, I could do it on the, let's say Seattle goes to 7.5. I can tease Seattle down to 1.5 and play Arizona plus 7.5 straight. That would be a very good line to trap with. Also, the Houston-Cincinnati game, I could take Cincinnati plus 8, play them with the college game, and then if the college game wins, now I play Houston -2, and I got great numbers. I got 3, 4, 6, 7, and 8, and I win them both. And that's the type of game that probably will fall around there. So I mean, you got to look at the point spread to find which games you're going to trap. And that's very, very key. You don't want to trap, am I going to trap the Indy game where they're laying 14? How am I going to trap the game? If I take Jacksonville in 20 and then take Indy -14, it's such a bad number to try to trap with. And if I take it down to 8, again, I'm getting 14. Again, it's a terrible number. I mean, you got to hope for a 10, 11, or a 14. It's very hard to get those numbers. Games are much more consistently field goal, 4, 6, 7-point games. And that's what you're looking for, is a close, like Arizona-Seattle would be a very good game to trap. Taking Seattle -1 and then Arizona +7 and 7.5 in the trap. But I do like Arizona in the 13. Seattle is just not. I don't see anybody blowing this Arizona. The only time it happened this year was Denver, because Arizona lost Drew Stanton in the game, so they had to go to the third-string quarterback and they got blown out. But if they play them normally and and Stanton plays the whole game, Arizona was, I think, down 4 points when Stanton got hurt in the game. So they're not going to get blown out by Seattle here. So again, I have 1 or 2 locks in the pros. I was going to lock Indy, but I can't because of that point spread being too high. If Denver gets everybody healthy, well, they're not going to have their running backs, but I don't know who their third running back is. I'll have to research that. But Denver could be a lock if they get enough receivers going. That's about it. I am going to Las Vegas next week. I will not have a pro or college video. I highly, 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 highly recommend buying my package by next Wednesday for next week. I could have at least 2 locks going Thursday and Friday, if not more. I see 2 pro locks right off the bat, just looking at the schedule for next week, because I'm getting ready for the Vegas trip. College, I could have 20 games going. I'm going to play an 18-team teaser. You can win for, I think, $10. You win $7,000, and I'm gonna be. I got 18 games already. Looking at next week's schedule, next week will be my highest rated week so far this year. I know I hit the lock of the year. I might have 1 or 2 very high locks, close to lock of the years going next week. I could have 5 or 6 locks going. I definitely recommend buying the locks, buying both pro and college. If you buy both pro and college, it's $200. Get the locks with it. Next week is the week to buy. It's just huge. It's perfect because you can hit games on Thursday and then double up on them Friday and double up on them Saturday and double up on them Sunday. And it's that strong of a week where I'm going to have. I know I already have 2 games Thursday, maybe 3, and then the Friday games I have at least 3, and then Saturday I saw at least 10, and then Sunday I saw at least 5. Without even looking at anything, I'll know what the point spreads are. Now, barring major injuries, I mean, these games I've already got them. So definitely, highly, highly recommend buying next week's games and buy them by Wednesday, Tuesday or Wednesday, just because I'm going to play. I could have 2 lots going Thursday. That's how strong next week looks already. Just looking at the game, I already lock. I mean, I already know what the trends are in the game from seeing them already. So definitely, you'll make money Thanksgiving of, a very good Christmas with this week. Not that I won't have a good Christmas week like I did last year, but this Thanksgiving week looks huge. And like I say, you got the playoffs in college. So teams have to blow out, and in the pros you're starting to get into, they need the game to win their divisions and things like that. All right, well, good luck, everybody. Again, it's Howard, Teaser King, www.teaserking.com. I love this week, but I love next week. Is unbelievable. It's so strong next week. It's crazy. All right, everybody, have a great weekend, and you can certainly email me, but again, I will not have a video next week. There's really, I do this from home. I have a webcam. I don't have it on the road, so I can't do it. But please email me with any questions or comments. You can leave comments here. I'll see them. I will be on the internet. I just won't have the cam to do the videos. So good luck, everybody. I hope you have a great weekend. And I have 4 college locks going tomorrow with 1 big pro lock, maybe 2. I still could lock Denver if the injuries come through, and there's a couple others that I I've already locked one. There's a second one that I'm leaning towards locking also. Okay, everybody, take care. I hope you all make a ton of money, beat your bookies.